On the second day after getting our marriage certificate, I held 2 plane tickets and waited at the airport for my newlywed husband, Eric. He arrived, followed by his childhood sweetheart, Selena. "Baby, Selena just went through a breakup, I'm bringing her along to help her unwind," Eric explained cautiously. Selena was wearing the same style of beach dress as me and gave me an apologetic smile. "Sister-in-law, I won't disturb you too, right? I just want to bask in your wedding joy." I looked at the third ticket in Eric's hand, positioned right next to mine. The seat number was 16B. Mine was 16A, and Eric's was 16C. He had arranged Selena right between us. Standing there, a surge of anger rushed from the soles of my feet to the top of my head. I abruptly pulled Eric aside and lowered my voice. "Make her leave, or I'm going." Eric looked troubled and somewhat helpless. "Baby, don't be so unreasonable, okay? Selena told me she's scared to be home alone and just wants to join us for some fun. Besides, we've known each other since childhood, going together isn't a big deal." I interrupted him. "If you don't make her leave, we're getting divorced right now." Eric reached out to pull me, but I dodged sideways. "Don't throw a tantrum over such a small thing, alright?" His tone softened, carrying a coaxing note. I didn't speak, just stared at him coldly. He couldn't withstand my gaze and sighed. "Fine, I'll tell her to leave." He raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. "Wife is the boss, that should be okay, right?" After saying that, he turned and walked to Selena, lowering his voice. Selena's shoulders immediately slumped. She lifted her head, her eyes instantly reddening. "Eric, does sister-in-law not like me? Did I do something wrong? I just went through a breakup and feel down, I want to bask in your wedding joy." As she spoke, she glanced at me aggrievedly, then turned her gaze back to Eric and grabbed his arm. "Eric, I know sister-in-law misunderstands us. But you explained to her, and she still doesn't trust you." It was that expression again. That kind of coy, insinuated speech again. A buzz sounded in my mind. 2 months ago, when Selena dragged 2 huge suitcases and appeared at the door of my and Eric's new home, it was the same expression. That day, Eric held me, looking at her with eyes full of pity. "Baby, Selena just broke up and was evicted by her landlord, she's so pitiful being alone in this city. Let her stay with us for a while, once she finds a job and a place, she'll move out right away." And the result? Once she moved in, she never mentioned moving out again. And half a month before getting the certificate, at the pre-wedding party, she looked at Eric with red-rimmed eyes in front of everyone. I really envy sister-in-law for marrying such a great guy like Eric. The one I dated before wasn't even half as good to me as Eric is. Friends egged them on to drink a cross-cup wine. Eric hesitated. But Selena directly linked her arm with his. "Come on, Eric, just think of it as an early congratulations on your wedding." He drank it half reluctantly. Later, during the group photo, she even pushed me aside, her face almost pressed against Eric's cheek. That night, he and I had the biggest argument ever. "Eric, do you have any sense of boundaries? Baby, don't overthink it, we're just playing around, we've been like this since childhood." I was shaking with anger. We had a cold war for a week. I had even packed my luggage, ready to end this relationship. The night before getting the certificate, he finally hugged me and apologized. "Baby, I was wrong, I'll definitely keep my distance from her in the future. I promise, this is the last time." Looking at his bloodshot eyes, I believed him. But now, in the airport hall, his promise seemed like a joke. The way he looked at Selena was full of pity. That pity wasn't for me. He walked toward me, his face full of exhaustion. "Baby, look at how sadly Selena is crying, how about?" I didn't wait for him to finish and walked out. "Then I'll leave, you two go on the honeymoon." Eric panicked, he chased after me, grabbed me, and immediately refunded Selena's ticket on the spot. He held up his phone to admit his mistake to me. Selena watched us from afar with red-rimmed eyes. I stared at Eric and coldly warned him that this was the last time. After saying that, I shook off his hand and headed straight to security. Once on the plane, I put on an eye mask to sleep. Soon after, a light tapping sound from a phone keyboard came from beside me. I removed the eye mask and glanced sideways. He was typing rapidly into a chat window. "Don't cry, it's all my fault." I felt a chill all over my body. He noticed my gaze and hurriedly tried to hide the phone. "Who are you chatting with?" I asked coldly. "No one, just a client." He didn't dare look at me. I laughed, his face turned pale. "Baby, don't misunderstand, I'm just afraid she might do something drastic." "If she does something drastic, are you going to die with her?" My voice was a bit loud, people in the front row turned to look at us. "Keep it down." He couldn't keep up the facade and showed impatience. "We finally came out for our honeymoon, can you stop mentioning her?" "Am I the one mentioning her, or is it that you can't let her go?" I retorted. He frowned. "We're just friends who grew up together, why don't you trust me? Can't you be more understanding?" It was that phrase again. I closed my eyes, not wanting to say another word to him. The plane landed, and the hotel car arrived. He tried to hold my hand, but I shook it off. The car door opened, and as I was about to get in, I froze in place. Selena was sitting in the car, smiling brightly at me. Next to her were Eric's two buddies, Jason and Kevin. Sister-in-law, what a coincidence. I turned abruptly and stared hard at Eric. His face looked unnatural. Selena jumped out of the car, linked her arm with his, and stuck out her tongue at me triumphantly. "Sister-in-law, Eric still secretly asked me to come later. He said more people make it livelier, and you'd definitely like it." "You're so petty, Eric still cares about me." "Selena, shut up." Eric was panicked and incoherent. In the car, his buddy Jason shouted. "Eric, what are you pretending for? Didn't you transfer the ticket money to us?" I looked at Eric's pale face and suddenly laughed. That scene at the airport was acted really well. Back at the hotel, he followed me in, still fabricating lies. They insisted on coming, the money was borrowed from me by Jason, I didn't know Selena was coming too. I quietly watched him perform. "Finished?" He was stunned. "If you're finished, get out." I pointed at the door. I used all my strength to push him out the door. I closed and locked it. I slid down against the door panel to the floor, tears falling. Outside, there were voices of Selena and others persuading, mixed with Eric's continuous knocking. I turned a deaf ear. 2 hours later, I changed clothes to go out for some air. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Eric standing there. And Selena, wearing a pitifully skimpy bikini, was rubbing against him. "Eric, let's go night swimming tonight." Just like in college. Her eyes glanced at me with provocation. Eric looked troubled, his eyes evasive. "Baby, she. Sister-in-law is so generous, she definitely won't mind, right, sister-in-law?" She smiled innocently. I walked up to them and stared directly at Eric. "Are you going?" "Baby, I just want to accompany her to relax." He was still explaining. "If you dare step out of this room, we're completely done." Eric pushed Selena away abruptly and quickly said, "I'm not going." Selena stumbled from the push, looking at him in disbelief, her eyes instantly reddening. She glanced at me aggrievedly and turned to run away. Eric breathed a sigh of relief. "Baby, look, I made her leave, don't be angry, okay?" There was no trace of apology in his words. I couldn't be bothered to argue with him anymore, shook off his hand, and walked into the room. I lay on the bed, covering my head with the blanket. He thought I was asleep. After some time, I was woken by a phone vibration. It was Eric's phone, placed on the nightstand. The screen was lit, with a glaring contact S. "Eric, has your wife troubled you again?" I picked up his phone, no password. He really trusted me. I opened Facebook and scrolled up. The screen was full of chat records between him and Selena after I fell asleep. Selena, sorry, Eric, for making you argue with sister-in-law again. Eric, don't overthink, she's just like that, dramatic and petty, ignore her. Dramatic and petty. So that's what I was in his heart. Selena, it's all my fault, if I hadn't insisted on coming. Eric, it's not your fault, I wanted you to come myself. Eric, you're still the best, unlike some people who only spoil the fun. My heart felt like it was being squeezed, and I couldn't breathe. They even started reminiscing about their college trips together. How great it was back then, just the two of us. So, I was the extra one. With a cold face, I opened my phone camera, photographed all these records, and then put his phone back in place. Soon after, Eric returned. He had a smile plastered on his face. Baby, awake? I dodged his outreached hand, that hand might have just touched Selena's hair. I asked him, where are you going? Jason and the others invited me to the bar, saying it's to make amends. He guiltily avoided my eyes. I stared into his eyes. Eric, we're here for our honeymoon. He glared at me. Honeymoon this, honeymoon that, can't you let me have some peace? Playing with whoever is the same, why must we be tied together? He slammed the door and left. I waited 2 minutes, then quietly followed. In the hotel's open-air bar, I spotted them at once. They were playing Truth or Dare. The bottle pointed at Selena, and Jason egged her on to choose Dare. Dare you to undo Eric's belt? Selena cooed, you guys are so mean. But she was already kneeling in front of Eric. Eric naturally wrapped his arm around her waist. Amid everyone's cheers, she reached out, pulled open Eric's shirt, her fingertips ambiguously tracing his abdomen. Then her hand went down and undid the belt buckle. Throughout, Eric looked down at her with an indulgent smile. I waited until she finished, then walked straight to the booth and sat down. Eric's smile froze, and he subconsciously released Selena, pulling away. He obviously didn't expect me to follow. The atmosphere was awkward for a few seconds. Jason laughed it off. Sister-in-law is here, join us. I didn't speak, just picked up the wine glass in front of me. Someone pushed on and asked Selena, who do you like most here? She shyly glanced at Eric. Me? I like Eric the most. After saying that, she buried her face in Eric's chest. Eric's face was full of indulgence. He reached out and ruffled her hair. The surroundings were full of cheers. Someone else asked, then who do you dislike the most? Selena looked innocent, her tone aggrieved, her gaze blatantly falling on me. I don't dislike anyone, I'm just a bit afraid of those who are unhappy themselves and won't let others be happy. People in the booth laughed along. At that moment, the bottle pointed to Eric. Eric, dare, kiss Selena. Selena said verbally, sister-in-law is watching. But her body pressed closer to Eric, face upturned, eyes full of expectation. Everyone's gaze focused on him. Eric picked up his wine glass, took a sip. He didn't move. His buddy Jason smoothed things over, change it, truth. He looked at Eric, drawing out his voice, Eric, if you weren't married, would you marry Selena? Eric's Adam's apple bobbed, he gulped down a big mouthful of wine. Jason, you've had too much, what nonsense are you asking? He tried to brush it off. But the cheers grew louder and louder. Eric's face grew uglier. He didn't look at me, not even once. Alright, stop messing around. But Selena persisted, giggling as she linked Eric's arm. Eric, don't be angry, Jason is just curious. She turned to look at me. Sister-in-law, don't blame everyone, we've played with Eric since childhood, joking about anything. Unlike you, who probably didn't even dare enter a bar before. As soon as she said that, everyone in the booth laughed. Eric said nothing, just picked up his glass and took another gulp. Kevin stood up shakily with a full glass of beer. Sister-in-law, a toast to you, don't be angry. As he spoke, he stumbled on his feet. The entire cup of cold beer poured over me from head to toe. My white dress was soaked through. Oh no, sorry sister-in-law, I really didn't mean it. He apologized verbally, but his eyes held a gleeful look. Eric frowned. Kevin, what are you doing? His tone was light, with no real reproach. My stomach churned, I couldn't watch anymore. You guys play, I'm going back first. I turned and walked away. As I passed Selena, a foot quietly extended. I fell forward, my knee slamming into the floor with a bang. The pain blackened my vision. Oh no, sister-in-law! Selena screamed exaggeratedly. Eric frowned. How could you be so careless? He bent to help me. Don't touch me. I shook off his hand and stood up on my own. Jason, that lackey, smoothed things over again. Sister-in-law fell carelessly, let's play a game to make amends. The empty bottle spun quickly on the table. Finally, the mouth pointed steadily at me. Selena clapped and laughed. Sister-in-law, how about you crawl like a dog in a circle and bark twice, that counts as passing, okay? Everyone around looked at me with expectant eyes. I looked at Eric. His eyes evaded, his face full of worry that I'd make a scene and embarrass him. Baby. He coaxed. It's just a game, don't take it seriously. Just play along casually, and it'll be over. Make me crawl on the ground to entertain this group? I picked up the wine glass in front of me and drank it dry. I won't crawl. Selena was unhappy, pulling Eric's arm and whining. Eric, look at her, such a spoilsport. Her eyes rolled, pointing to the small stage in the center of the bar. Or sister-in-law can go up and dance for us, that counts as passing. Sister-in-law has such a great figure, it'll definitely look good. On the stage, several scantily clad women were twisting their bodies. I heard her deliberately say in a voice I could hear, look at her deadpan face, pretending to be so superior. Today, I'm going to make her know who should be standing by Eric's side. Jason chuckled. You have so many ideas, see how she pretends now. So that's it. I slowly turned my head, my gaze toward Eric. He was whispering something to Selena, his face indulgent. He hadn't noticed my gaze at all. In his heart, I was probably just an unreasonable thing. I picked up a full glass of red wine from the table, stood up, and walked toward the stage. Selena thought I'd given in, showing a smug smile. Sister-in-law figured it out? Go quickly, we're all waiting to see. I walked up to her. Raised my hand and poured the entire glass over her head. Want to see me dance? I'll sober you up first. Then I slapped her across the face. Selena covered her face, looking at me in disbelief. You dare hit me? Hit you? I backhanded another slap. Today, I'm going to ruin you. I grabbed her hair and slammed her head hard against the nearby pillar. Selena. Eric rushed over to push me away. Before he could, I grabbed a half bottle of wine from the table and smashed it over his head. Eric, what do you mean by play along casually? Why don't you play one for me to see? Eric, this marriage, I'm definitely divorcing. Selena screamed. What right do you have to hit people? Eric staggered, blood mixed with wine flowing from his forehead. He wiped his face, furiously pushed me away, and shielded Selena with his body. He glared at me fiercely. Vivian, have you made enough of a scene? In front of my brothers, where do I put my face? His good brother Jason jumped out, pointing at my nose. Sister-in-law, it was just a joke, you're going too far. Selena suddenly went limp. Eric, my head is so dizzy, my chest hurts. Eric panicked, hugged her, and rushed to the hospital. If anything happens to her, I'm not done with you. I returned to the hotel room and locked the door. I took out my own suitcase and started packing. Then, I pulled over Eric's suitcase, opened it, and threw his clothes one by one onto the floor. When the suitcase was almost empty, I felt a hard box. It was a jewelry box. Inside was a necklace. Opening it, I saw a card at the bottom. It was Eric's handwriting. Wishing my eternal happiness. The date was the day we got our certificate. I raised my phone and photographed the necklace and card. That day at the airport, my best friend messaged me, saying Selena's breakup was fake, her previous boyfriend was someone hired to pretend. The purpose was for Eric. No wonder Selena insisted on coming along and brought helpers. Soon after, Eric returned with gauze wrapped around his forehead. As soon as he entered, he carried an air of anger. Did you have to make things so ugly? You got Selena into the hospital. I sat on the sofa, quietly looking at him. Oh? Really? Which hospital? I'll go see if she's dead. You. He raised his hand in anger. I met his gaze without moving. Hit me, Eric, if you dare touch me today, I guarantee you'll regret it for life. His hand froze in midair. Unreasonable. I took out my phone, clicked on his mom's Facebook profile. Then, sent those photos one by one. Chat records, necklace, card. Finally, typed a line, Mom, your son cheated during marriage, brought his childhood sweetheart on the honeymoon, and bought her a token of love, I'm divorcing him. Click, send. Eric saw my actions, his face turning white instantly. He rushed to grab my phone. What did you do? What did you send to my mom? I dodged sideways, holding the phone high. Sent her good deeds. Eric, you don't want to divorce, right? Guess if your mom will help you or me? His family cared most about face. Eric was an absolute mama's boy. At that moment, there was a knock at the door. Sister-in-law, please open the door, I'm here to apologize. It was Selena. She was in hospital clothes, pale-faced, looking pitiable. Eric acted like he'd seen a savior, quickly going to support her. Selena leaned into his arms, looking at me aggrievedly. Sister-in-law, I beg you, forgive me, okay? I'll do anything you want. I pointed at the floor in front of me. Then kneel down and kowtow 3 times, I'll consider forgiving you. Selena's face froze, looking at me in disbelief. Eric got angry too, don't go too far. I'm going too far? I raised my phone and pressed play. A recording played clearly. Look at her deadpan face, pretending to be superior. Today, I'm going to make her know who should be standing by Eric's side. The bar was noisy, so I had the foresight to record it. I looked at the shocked Eric. Heard it? This is your good little sister, your S. Now, take your S and get out of my room. I walked over, threw his suitcase directly outside, clothes scattering everywhere. I took out my phone, booked the earliest flight home. Then, messaged my lawyer, prepare the divorce agreement, Eric cheated during marriage, make him leave with nothing. Outside, Eric's phone connected. His mom's scolding was so loud I could hear it inside. Eric, you bastard. I told you to take Vivian on honeymoon, and you bring a mistress? What do you take Vivian for? Get back here immediately, the Xie family can't afford this shame. Eric's pleas continued. Mom, Selena and I are just friends, it's not what you think. Selena's cries timely arose. Auntie, it's all my fault, don't blame Eric. You shut up, you shameless vixen. The call was hung up. Selena continued sobbing. Eric, it's all my fault, my chest hurts so much, I can't breathe. About to faint into his arms again. I picked up the hotel phone and dialed the front desk. Hello, there's harassment at my door, please send security. Soon, the corridor echoed with security's firm voices. Eric dragged Selena away. But in a few minutes, more chaotic footsteps rushed over. It was his good brother Jason, banging on my door like crazy. Open up, you vicious woman, what right do you have to hit Selena? Jason was truly Selena's lapdog. I picked up the phone again. Security, the previous people brought helpers back to bang on the door. If you can't handle it, I'll call the police. This time, the corridor filled with curses and Selena's cries of don't hit. My phone vibrated, it was Eric's mom. Vivian, sorry, it's Mom's fault for not teaching her son well. Whatever you want to do, Mom supports you. I didn't reply and opened the door. Eric sat dejectedly on the ground. Selena leaned on him, her makeup smeared from crying. Jason and Kevin glared at me angrily. I looked straight ahead, dragging my suitcase through them. Wife, don't go, I was wrong. I couldn't be bothered to glance at him. In the airport lounge, I received a screenshot from my best friend. It was Selena's Facebook. The image was her tear-streaked face. I just see Eric as a brother. I didn't expect sister-in-law to misunderstand so deeply. Perhaps I shouldn't exist. Below, a row of mutual friends were all cursing me. Some people have dirty hearts and see everything as dirty. How did Eric marry such a shrew? Blind. Jason even at me, if you have the guts to do it, don't have the guts to confront? I organized the evidence on my phone into long images. The extra ticket at the airport. The Facebook messages he sent to us behind my back. Photos of Selena in a bikini seducing him in the hotel corridor. The unbearable recording from the bar. The necklace inscribed wishing my eternal happiness. I posted all the evidence unchanged on my own Facebook. The caption was just one sentence, Eric, wishing you and your 100 years of harmony. As soon as the evidence was posted, my phone buzzed wildly. I blocked Eric and his circle one by one. My best friend's voice message came in, her voice trembling with excitement. Babe. Well done, Facebook friends are saying you're the textbook for tearing apart green tea. I turned off my phone and slept for over 10 hours on the plane. Upon landing and turning it on, messages flooded in. Selena started performing again. A photo of Hospital 4, with text, "It's my fault, please don't cyberbully Eric anymore." The comments were full of people calling me vicious for driving someone to suicide. My best friend was frantic, "This green tea bitch is too fucking good at acting." I sent her the video I had recorded long ago. The part where she whispered to Jason, cursing me for pretending to be superior. And the full HD close-up of her secretly tripping me. Now, the comments exploded again. I who just pitted her am a big idiot. That wound on the wrist, probably drawn with a red pen? I put away my phone, too lazy to look more. The lawyer was waiting at the exit. All done. The locks on your house have been changed. Eric's things are packed and thrown at the door. On the way home, Eric called. I answered and pressed record. Wife, I was wrong. It was all that bitch Selena seducing me, the necklace was forced by her too. She said if I didn't buy it, she'd die, the one I love is only you, wife. So disgusting. Eric, you're the most disgusting man I've ever seen. I hung up and sent the recording to the lawyer. Add one more, sue him for slander. The car just stopped, and I saw Eric downstairs. He had returned so quickly too. He saw me and pounced like crazy. The lawyer stepped in front. Mr. Eric, please calm down. Eric saw the lawyer, his face turning white. Divorce for real? He asked with a trembling voice. I looked at him. For real, and you'll leave with nothing. On what grounds? He roared. The lawyer spoke coldly. This house is the lady's premarital property. You cheated during marriage, don't expect a penny. His legs weakened, he knelt and hugged my thigh tightly. Baby, I love you, it was all that bitch seducing me. Just as he spoke, his bitch arrived in hospital clothes. Selena cried, sister-in-law, it's all my fault, please don't divorce. I kicked Eric away. I slowly smiled at Selena. Eric didn't say that. I pressed play. His sentence, it was all that bitch Selena seducing me, played on loop. Selena's face turned white. Eric? You fucking curse me? She slapped his face. Are you sick? Can't you see I'm coaxing my wife? Eric got anxious too. Wife. Didn't you say you'd marry me eventually, that she isn't even fit to carry your shoes? You also said marrying her was just for her money. The two started tearing into each other on the spot. At that moment, Eric's mom rushed over angrily. You've shamed the Xie family completely. She pointed at Selena's nose and cursed. "You shameless woman, get out." Then, she grabbed my hand. "Vivian, Mom is sorry." "Divorce. Must divorce, we don't want this trash." Eric broke down, pointing at his brothers and yelling. "It was all your bad ideas, now I've lost my home." Jason panicked. Who knew sister-in-law couldn't play along? My lawyer glanced coldly at him. "Mr. Jason, hotel door banging intimidation, the subpoena will arrive soon." Eric still tried to hug my leg. "Wife, let's reconcile." I looked at him coldly. "From the moment you brought her to the airport, we were done." I turned and walked away. Just entering home, my best friend called. "Babe. Check the hot search, Selena is about to jump." I opened Facebook, and sure enough. Selena in hospital clothes, standing on the rooftop edge, crying to the camera. "I just loved the wrong person, why won't you let me go? If my death can calm you, I'm willing." The comments were full of holier-than-thou people cursing me. At that moment, Eric's call came in. I answered and pressed record casually. "Vivian, go to the hospital quickly, get that crazy Selena down." He was furious. "If she really dies, her ghost will haunt me forever." I spoke indifferently, what does it have to do with me? I hung up and anonymously sent the recording to a reporter live on site. In less than 5 minutes, the reporter's loud voice spread across the net via the live stream. Eric's phrase, "that crazy Selena," was infinitely amplified. His eager to disassociate face was utterly ugly. On the rooftop, Selena's crying face instantly froze. The live chat went crazy. Annual drama. So the scumbag wanted to hide both sides? This woman isn't good either, the man is even worse. Hilarious, jump, why not jump? Selena was taken down by police amid countless mocks. The next day, I arrived at the law firm. I had just signed the divorce agreement when the office door was slammed open. Eric rushed in, unshaven. He knelt directly in front of me, hugging my leg. "Wife, I was wrong, really wrong, let's not divorce, okay? It was all that bitch Selena. She ruined everything for me." I kicked him away and threw the signed agreement in his face. "Good timing, sign." Eric was still begging when his phone rang. On the other end was his mom's roar. "You unfilial son, from today, you're kicked out of the Sia family, I have no son like you." Eric's hand shook, the phone dropped to the ground. The screen lit with Jason's Facebook message, "Eric, my dad won't let me associate with you, don't contact me anymore." He slumped on the ground. I tapped the agreement with the pen tip, looking at him emotionlessly. He tremblingly picked up the pen and signed his name. I walked out of the law firm, my ex-mother-in-law called. "Vivian, that Selena just tried to come back to the Sia home," I cursed her out. "Rest assured, no one will bother you anymore." I said softly, "Thank you, Auntie." A week later, I saw 2 familiar figures at the street corner. Eric and Selena. Both looked disheveled, tugging at each other on the street. "Eric, didn't you say you love me? Didn't you say you'd marry me eventually? You liar, you left me with nothing." Eric slapped her face. "Get lost. If not for you, would I be kicked out? Would I lose everything?" Selena pounced like crazy, scratching his face. "What did you take me for, play and discard?" The two fought in a tangle on the busy street. Passers-by glanced sideways, pointing. I looked away and stepped on the accelerator. As the car passed them, I stepped on the brake. Eric and Selena stopped, staring blankly at me. Hope flashed in Eric's eyes. Selena subconsciously shrank back. I took out my phone, pointed at them, and started recording. "Don't stop," I said softly. "Continue, I haven't seen enough." They froze in place. "Didn't you say Eric is the best? How did it come to blows?" "Your S, how could you bear to hit Eric, is this how you protect her?" Every word of mine stabbed their sore spots. They looked at each other, eyes full of only hatred. I recorded enough and shared the video with my best friend. Scumbag and bitch fighting on the street, for you to watch. Then, I stepped on the accelerator. Never looked at them again. Half a month later, my lawyer called. Jason has compensated, the money is in your account. He was involved in intimidation, his dad compensated a lot to avoid a record, reportedly now confined at home, not allowed out. Serves him right. I hung up, in a good mood. Met my best friend at our usual cafe, she excitedly pushed her phone to me. Babe, you're famous. Your video is spreading all over the net, titled Scumbag and Mistress Get Instant Karma. The comments were densely packed with cheers. I was about to look closely when a familiar, disheveled figure rushed in. It was Eric. Unshaven, clothes dirty and wrinkled, he headed straight for me and knelt with a thud. Vivian, I was really wrong. Can you lend me some money? Mom stopped all my cards, I haven't eaten in 2 days. I swear, I've cut ties with that bitch Selena, now I want to vomit seeing her. I quietly looked at him, my phone on the table was recording. Is that so? I picked up my phone, opened the transfer page. Entered 1,000. Get lost. He saw the successful transfer prompt, eyes lighting up, and scrambled away. My best friend stared dumbfounded, you let him go just like that? I took a sip of coffee. This 1,000 is to buy his last shred of dignity. The next day, a strange number called. It was Selena. She sobbed uncontrollably. Sister-in-law, no, Vivian sis, I really know I was wrong. It was all Eric forcing me, he said if we don't coax you back, we'll both starve. He also said, though you're dramatic and petty, your family has money, as long as we trick you into remarrying, we can live well again. Vivian sis, I saw him as a brother, but he used me as a tool, please help me, I don't want to be entangled with him anymore. I listened to her sobs and pressed record. Okay. I replied lightly, I'll give you a chance. That night, I edited the 2 recordings and posted them online. The first segment was Eric kneeling and begging, cursing Selena as bitch. The second was Selena sobbing about Eric's plan to trick marriage and money. I captioned only, made for each other, locked forever, don't harm the world anymore. The internet exploded directly. Months later, my best friend and I were planning a trip. She suddenly pushed a local news to me. A couple arrested for mall theft, fighting over spoils. In the news photo, Eric and Selena had hands cuffed behind, faces bruised. The reporter wrote they stole a bag of bread and some ham, fighting at the supermarket door, extremely ugly scene. I deleted the news. My phone vibrated. It was ex-mother-in-law's message, Vivian, thank you for clearing the trash from the Xia family. I didn't reply. Turned to continue chatting travel plans with my best friend.